You have probably already heard of Ikigai. You have probably already heard of Kaizen. You may have heard of Kintsugi, Wabi-Sabi, or the 80% eating rule from Okinawa. You nodded when you read about them. You thought, that makes sense, I should try that. And then nothing changed. That gap between knowing and actually living differently is exactly what this video is about. Because the question most people never ask is not what these Japanese habits are, it is why, after years of the West discovering them, writing about them, and making videos about them, most people still wake up the same way they did before they learned any of it. The answer has everything to do with how the Western brain is wired and what these habits are actually doing underneath the surface. This is the story of 8 tiny Japanese habits, not just what they are, but why they work on the human brain in ways that most modern productivity advice completely fails to. The first habit is Kaizen, and it works because it bypasses the brain's threat response. Most people try to change their lives through dramatic transformation, huge goals, complete overhauls, new year, new me, and the brain treats massive change as a threat. It resists, it procrastinates, it finds reasons to wait until Monday. Kaizen removes the threat entirely. Instead of asking, how do I completely change my life, it asks, what is one small improvement I can make today? One extra page, one extra push-up, 1 minute of practice. Toyota applied this at every level of its operation. Workers were encouraged to find tiny improvements every single day. Each one seemed insignificant. Together, they transformed an entire company into one of the most efficient manufacturing operations in history. The brain does not resist a change this small, and that's not a weakness of the method. That is the entire mechanism. The second habit is Hara Hachi Bu, and it works because it introduces a pause the modern world has almost entirely eliminated. This practice comes from Okinawa, one of the world's most studied regions for longevity. The phrase means eat until you are 80% full. Not full, not stuffed, 80%. The pause this creates, am I still hungry or am I simply continuing because the food is there, is not really about food. It's about the habit of noticing. Most modern eating happens on autopilot. Most modern consumption happens on autopilot. More is the default. Hara Hachi Bu trains the interruption of that default, and over time, the habit of asking, is this enough, begins to extend beyond the dinner table. Knowing where enough is may be one of the most undervalued forms of intelligence a person can develop. The third habit is Shinrin-Yoku, and it works because the nervous system cannot distinguish between a real threat and a psychological one. Shinrin-Yoku means forest bathing. It's simply the practice of spending intentional time in nature, walking, observing, breathing, being present. Japan incorporated it into public health programs because research has consistently shown measurable reductions in cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, after time in natural environments. The modern brain spends most of its waking hours in a low-grade state of alert, notifications, deadlines, comparisons. The nervous system responds to a work email with the same stress chemistry as a physical threat. The forest interrupts that chemistry, not because it's beautiful, because it's indifferent. The trees do not care about your deadlines, and in that indifference, the nervous system finally gets permission to stand down. The fourth habit is Wabi-Sabi, and it works because perfectionism is not a standard, it's a delay tactic. Wabi-Sabi is the appreciation of imperfection, a cracked cup, an aging piece of wood, a weathered surface that carries the evidence of time. Psychologists who study creative performance consistently find that the pursuit of perfect before publishing, launching, or beginning is one of the primary mechanisms through which talented people produce nothing. The standard of perfect is always just far enough away to justify waiting. Wabi-Sabi doesn't lower the standard, it changes what the standard is. The goal is honest work that carries the evidence of genuine effort, including the evidence of imperfection. The fifth habit is Gaman, and it works because most modern culture has confused discomfort with well-being. Gaman means enduring difficult situations with patience and dignity, not suppressing emotion, developing the inner steadiness to keep moving when life becomes hard. The modern wellness industry has largely reframed discomfort as a problem to be solved. The implicit message is that discomfort is a sign something has gone wrong. Gaman carries a different understanding. Discomfort is not a sign something has gone wrong, it's a feature of a life being fully lived. Resilience built through Gaman is not loud. It looks like getting out of bed, trying again, taking the next step when the next step is hard. Over time, that quiet steadiness becomes one of the most durable qualities a person can carry. The sixth habit is Omoiyari, and it works because it shifts the unit of concern from the self to the shared. Omoiyari means thoughtful consideration for others, anticipating someone's needs before they have to ask. A store worker in Japan folds the edge of a piece of tape slightly upward when wrapping a package so the customer can remove it easily later. A tiny gesture most people would never notice. That's precisely the point. Research in positive psychology consistently finds that pro-social behavior produces measurable improvements in the well-being of the person doing it. Omoiyari returns more than it costs. The person who thinks beyond themselves moves through the world with less friction, more trust, and deeper connection. The seventh habit is Ikigai, and it works because purpose is not found, it is noticed. Most people understand Ikigai as the search for a grand life purpose, the one thing you are meant to do. That is not what Ikigai means. Ikigai means having a reason to get up in the morning. Work, family, a hobby, a craft, a garden, a conversation with a specific person on a specific day of the week. Research on longevity is consistent. People who maintain a clear sense of why their day matters live longer and report significantly higher life satisfaction. Your Ikigai is almost certainly already present. The problem is not that you haven't found it. The problem is that you're moving too fast to notice it. The eighth and final habit is Kintsugi, and it is the habit that reframes everything that came before it. Kintsugi is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold. Instead of hiding the cracks, the craftsman highlights them. The repair becomes the most visible and most beautiful part of the object. Most people spend significant portions of their lives hiding their broken places, their failures, their difficult chapters, the mistakes they can't stop returning to. Kintsugi teaches the direct opposite. The fracture is not the end of the object's value. It's the beginning of its most interesting story. Your broken places do not diminish what you are. They become part of it. Those struggles are precisely what makes your particular version of a life unrepeatable. Now here's the insight underneath all 8 of these habits, the one most videos never reach. Every single one of them requires the same thing: noticing. Noticing when you are full enough, noticing when the forest is changing your nervous system, noticing the small improvement available today, noticing the small reason your day already has meaning. The Western productivity industry is built on intensity, more output, faster results, bigger goals. The implicit belief is that the problem is always insufficient force being applied. These 8 habits are built on an entirely different premise. The problem is not insufficient force, the problem is insufficient attention, and attention cannot be forced. It can only be practiced. That's why most people hear about these habits and don't change. They try to apply them with intensity, and when the intensity fades, the habit fades. The Japanese did not build these practices around intensity. They built them around repetition so small it never requires intensity at all. That's not a modest ambition. Over a lifetime, it's the entire difference. Of these 8 habits, which one points to something you're already moving too fast to notice in your own life? Drop it in the comments. I'll be reading every one of them. I'm Sam, and I'll be reading every single one of your comments. If this video helped you, subscribe for more videos that will help you become better every day.